Sometimes it's hard to sit and meditate, especially if you've got a lot on your mind. When that happens, thinking through some of the problems, or at least thinking to an extent where you can sort of just let them go and not let them dominate your thinking so much. So it's a good idea to just have a look at what's bothering you at the moment and think of any possible solutions that you can do about it. And if you can't find a full-on solution, can you find a solution that at least makes you feel a little easier so you can let it go? If you're feeling bad about something that you may have done in the past, there's nothing you can do about the past, but you can learn from it. So you want to try look at what you've done and acknowledge if you've made a mistake, but at the same time see what you can learn from that mistake, and then just let the past go so that you can be in the present. The only moment in time where you can actually do anything or make a difference is now, in this moment. This is the only moment you've got. This is the only moment where you can sow your seeds. The seeds that you sow now will either become bitter or sweet fruit depending on your actions, depending on what you say and do. If you're worrying about the future, there's nothing you can do about the future. You can maybe influence it a little bit by what you do in the here and now, but you have to just let the future take care of itself. What you need to do is focus on what you can do in the here and now to change the future in some way, perhaps. Again, it's like planting seeds, and it takes time, and you have to look after the seeds. You have to water them, you have to see to their needs, protect them from any pests that might want to hurt them. You have to cultivate what you're doing in the here and now. This is the only time when you really get a choice. You get a choice either to act with love or to act in a negative way. So this morning I got a bit stressed about something, and it was a really petty, silly thing, but I got so wound up about it. But then I noticed myself getting wound up about it, and through that noticing I was able then to sort of breathe in a way that helped me calm it down a bit and look at it objectively. And once I did that, it wasn't such a big deal. It's just the mind made it into a big deal. And I noticed my automatic reaction was to give myself a hard time for it. But there's not a single meditation master anywhere in the world, or any great saint that you might hear about, who didn't get where they were without making a few mistakes, or many mistakes in some cases. So don't beat yourself up. What you have to do is, again, look at it objectively and think, right, where did I go wrong? What could I do better next time? And then just resolve to try and learn from that mistake and try to do better next time, and then let it go, because you can't go back and change something that's happened in the past. The only time when you can change anything is in this moment now, and what you think might work better might not work. Sometimes you get into that because these situations repeat. They're like spirals that just keep coming back. Each time they come back, you can try what you think was going to be successful. For me this time, breathing did help. Sometimes if you're having repetitive thoughts, the same stuff going through your head over and over, one thing that has helped me sometimes is if I just stop for a moment and ask myself why I'm thinking about this. Where do these thoughts come from? Who is it who's thinking about this? Because our mind is made up of many different minds. They don't always operate within our general awareness. Sometimes they're right in the background doing their thing, chattering away, and sometimes they'll come to the foreground. They'll push suggestions forward, but you don't have to do everything that the mind suggests, and you can make the choice to not do that. That's where wisdom comes through for you. Sometimes when you question thoughts, they go quiet, and sometimes they go quiet for a moment and then they'll come back with an answer, and then you can ask them another question, and sometimes you can resolve things like that, and you can gain these little insights into how the mind works, which can be very useful. I've noticed that a lot tends to come from the narrator mind, that part of the mind that's always chatting away, and it's got a useful function. It relays information back to the other minds. It's a way of putting into words what's happening. That part of you can also be present when there's no words as well, I've noticed. But generally, in our everyday life, it's got an important job of relaying information. It's a bit like our news service, but sometimes it gets a bit biased, or sometimes it can get distracted and not see the clear picture, not see things as they actually are, and so you're getting the wrong information going into the mind sometimes. You have to become aware of what you are saying to yourself, and you want to be sure that what you're saying to yourself is truthful. You don't want to be lying to yourself. So you've got to question all your experience, whatever it is, your reactions and that, and be honest about it. Try to be as honest as you can and not flinch at the truth, because everybody's minds can be negative, or this weird stuff comes up. It's just normal. It's part of what the way the mind is designed to be like that. It looks at all different angles and things. So don't be afraid. Just look at it and be honest, and use your wisdom that you develop through practice to decide which thought you feel is right and which one you choose to ignore. You can do it gently. You don't have to be like a dictator to yourself. You just in a gentle way, But the best way to talk to yourself is truthfully, but gently as well, kind. If you do catch yourself talking a load of nonsense about something, don't beat yourself up or anything. Just see that you're talking to yourself in an unskillful way, and that it'd be better to not talk like that, but in a gentle way. Don't give yourself a hard time about it. Just think, oh yeah, that's not really very helpful thinking like that. I could change that. Also, a lot of things that we think about, our opinions, they come from outside the mind as well. News stories, gossip, the things people are posting on social media, all these different things, they influence our mind. Movies, TV shows, there's so much information coming through from outside sources. And people we meet, you may find you've got a voice in your head that reminds you of your parents or something, and a voice that reminds you of your best friend or some authority figure or something, But I tell you, a really nice freeing insight that you discover when you meditate is you don't have to listen to those voices. It's perfectly alright to just ignore them if they're not being very helpful. Sometimes they might be helpful. It might be the mind trying to help itself out. That's when you need to use your wisdom to see if you're talking to yourself in a way that's helpful, instead of in a way that is making you more stressed or making you more anxious, making you angry, making you suffer. So you want to talk to yourself in a way that's going to be beneficial and helpful and keep you focusing on the right things. And if you make a mistake, just try to learn what you can from that mistake. Let it go. Resolve to do better next time. And then when that next time comes and you don't do better, that's fine. Just say, right, where did I go wrong this time? Look at it without fear, without judging yourself, without criticism. You've got to be honest and objective, but also kind and gentle with your mind. This world is a tough place and it's rough at the moment, and many people are finding things challenging. It's like I used to be a right grouch at sometimes, and I would hardly ever smile at all. When I got a bit deeper into meditation, I started smiling more often, and I noticed how just a simple smile towards somebody else that you're passing by can really make a difference. It lights up their face, and it lights up your face, and I guess that's why it lights up their face. It's just doing that. You don't have to say anything or do anything. Just sometimes a simple smile is enough to bring a bit of light and warmth to someone around you. Take care, man.